Ellie is a community activist starting from her days working with Martin Luther King Jr. up to today.
I have a dream.
The things that we were doing were dangerous things. And I did many things that no one else had done. And I went many places where no one else had gone.
The Littleton Council on Human Relations became a springboard for civil rights.
She didn't do it all because it was cool to do it. She did it all because she was called to do it.
As strong and enduring as the Rocky Mountains they stood beside, as visionary as the views of the Grand Plains they looked across, the women inducted into the Colorado Women's Hall of Fame are trailblazers whose work has improved and enriched our lives. They are teachers, scientists, ranchers, leaders in business, education, religion, and the arts. Women who have been recognized for their many contributions to our state, our country, and the world. I'm Renelda Muse, and these are the stories of great Colorado women.
Ellie is a community activist in a really constructive way.
Many of Mom's professional accomplishments were to start programs that no one had ever done before.
Ellie was out creating organizations to make this a better world.
It was clear to me that integration in housing was a very important civil rights issue.
She can be tough, she can be determined, persistent, sometimes even stubborn about the things she believes in.
But she always does it respectfully.
When she decided to do something, you knew that it would be done very well.
It was Ellie who really understood how to create an organization that would be long-lasting and would be broad-based.
Anything Ellie ever did was never just confined to a small area. It was always something that spread.
And Ellie had the wisdom to establish a program.
She called it the Feminist Luncheon Series.
The Colorado Women's Leadership Coalition.
The Women's Forum here in Denver.
She's written 7 books and probably thousands of articles.
She became the director of University Without Walls.
For the generation of women after World War II, Ellie is the epitome of a strong woman.
I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I grew up in New Jersey.
She was the oldest child.
Her younger sister Carol and her parents lived in a fairly wealthy part of Newark, New Jersey.
Ellie was a golden child. She was bright and wonderful. She was the drum majorette at her all-Jewish high school.
She was on the debate club and learned a lot of the skills that she used later in life.
We had a woman who was our household helper. Pearl was a very special person in my early life. She was African American. Every now and then I would go home with her and we would visit in her community. And so I was introduced into her life in a very personal way. I think she set the stage for later relationships with the Black community in Denver.
Her father was an entrepreneur and her mom was a stay-at-home mom.
I graduated from high school in 1949.
She went to Mount Holyoke College, an all-women's college, one of the 7 sisters.
And Mom was drawn to Mount Holyoke as an all-female college in terms of it being an environment where women could prosper and where women didn't, as students, have to compete with men.
That was a place where Ellie's skills could get fine-honed.
The founder of Mount Holyoke is a woman named Mary Lyon. She founded Mount Holyoke in 1837, and that was the first women's college in the country. She's known for having said, "Go where no one else will go, do what no one else will do."
I think Mary Lyons' motto and her quote really typifies Mom's life, and I think she's always tried to live by that as she's been in different positions of influence in organizations.
And if one were to really think about it and take it to heart, which I did, I really thought she was speaking to me.
Her freshman year, she was very dismayed to learn that her parents were getting divorced.
And my life changed a lot.
Her parents were divorced when she was about 17, which is I think for many of us, a very vulnerable time.
I think it was the shock of it that was so significant. And it caused me to really make a decision that I had to be able to stand on my own 2 feet, which my mother had trouble doing. I had to be able to have a profession so I could earn a living, which my mother could not do.
It really had an impact on my mom in terms of thinking about the importance of women being able to support themselves as she saw her mother not have skills for the workplace.
She became very much aware of feminism and what women could accomplish. And so she understood that when she graduated, she would need to probably get a graduate degree, which she did. And she planned on having a job and a family as well.
And I think her confidence and her skills coming out of Mount Holyoke were really a key part of launching her career.
My major was called Scientific Aspects of Speech, which was the only person in school who had that major. And I had an independent study in my senior year at college, working with children with cerebral palsy.
After graduating from Mount Holyoke, Mom attended graduate school at the University of Wisconsin in Madison.
One of the professors had gone on leave for a year to work at Children's Hospital in Denver, which was a very well-known facility. And there was a new clinic that was started at that time. That's what brought me to Denver. And I recall going home after I made the decision to come to Denver, and my family was surprised and my friends were astonished, and I really didn't want to come back, given my parents' divorce. It was not coming back to the house that I knew. One Saturday I was downtown in Denver looking around to see what the city was like, and I remember going into Woolworth's and going to the back of the Woolworth's store and going to the payphone and calling the one phone number I had in my purse. And that phone number was Marilee and Cy Wallach.
And she and Marilee struck up a friendship. And Marilee said that she knew this single Jewish young man named Manny Greenberg.
And we went out together for the first time. We went in a truck because he owns a television and stereo store, and he had this pickup truck. And he said, any Jewish girl who would go out with someone in a pickup truck must be okay. We were engaged, and we were married the following Christmas. We had bought a little house, a little log cabin in Denver. I had 2 children before we got too many people for that small house. And then we built a house in what was then called Littleton, and we had a 3rd child there. So Andrea is our eldest, Julie is our next, and Michael is our 3rd child. At one time, I was teaching at the University of Colorado, Denver, and I was teaching at night. I'd make dinner, get everybody at the table, and start dinner to eat. Then I'd get up from the table and go downtown to teach. And he'd have to put the kids to bed, they were little at the time, and take care of dinner and cleaning up and so forth. So he was always there for me.
She was very well educated, she was very bright, and knew how to organize and knew how to affect social change.
The Littleton Council for Human Relations became a force for change in Littleton, which in the 60s was very much a white suburb of Denver.
Integration in housing was a very important civil rights issue. And then a family, what we would say a Negro family, a black family, wanted to buy a house. The wife had come to look at the house, and the wife was very fair-skinned. And they showed her the house. But when she called her husband, who was not yet in Denver, to come and see this house, the realtors refused to show it to them. They changed the locks on the doors. He was a dark-skinned black person. They came to this Littleton Council for Human Relations, which I had started, for assistance in buying this house. And we went to the Colorado Civil Rights Commission. which we had gotten acquainted with.
Through the Fair Housing Act, Mom helped write the legislation for. The Fair Housing Act of Colorado helped make sure that there wasn't discrimination in the process of people buying a home.
It was a very heady time. We were busy every day. I'd read the newspaper in the morning, and what the newspaper was about gave us our agenda for the day. And we would go downtown and lobby for something, or be at the legislature, or have a meeting, or whatever.
Well, I came to Denver in 1957 as regional director of the Anti-Defamation League. And lo and behold, there was Ellie Greenberg heading up the Littleton Council on Human Relations. And it was at a time when the civil rights movement was evolving.
In the early 60s, around civil rights issues, things were always very tense. And the things that we were doing were dangerous things.
Several ministers had to leave their churches because they spoke about these values. And some parishioners said, "Don't tell us how to behave."
I had some neighbors who thought it was the wrong thing to do, and that I was going to destroy the neighborhood, and that I was going to, I had one neighbor who actually came to my house one day in the summer, knocked on my screen door, came into the house, and I invited him into the living room because I thought he was paying a friendly visit. He looked down over me and he shook his finger at me and he said, "You are destroying my property values. And why are you inviting those people to come and live in our community? And you better stop doing that."
And he proceeded to yell at my mom about the work that she was doing that was going to change our neighborhood.
One of the really important things that happened with the Littleton Council for Human Relations was that we had made friends in other ethnic communities. The Black Ministerial Alliance became a colleague of our Littleton Council for Human Relations. So the Black Ministerial Alliance invited Dr. King to Denver, and he accepted.
And to come to Colorado, in particular Littleton, Colorado, that was really pretty unique.
Ellie had the courage and the determination to see that we could have Dr. King as the motivator.
So when we got involved with Dr. King, and when we brought him to Littleton in 1964, it was significant. We picked him up at the Hilton Hotel, and we came in at the ground level, and we went up the escalator, and he was standing right on the top of the escalator in his overcoat and his hat. He got into our car, and we had police surrounding the church where he spoke for, perhaps well over a half an hour. The church was full to standing room only. There wasn't another inch in the church that could be filled. And everyone was thrilled that he was here, and it was a very wonderful day.
Ellie could think beyond Colorado.
Well, the March on Selma was a very big deal. And being the chair of the council and being who I was, I thought I should go. I thought I wanted to go. I did want to go.
And Manny sat her down and said, "Nope, you can't go. You're a mother. And you need to be here to take care of these kids. And if something were to happen to you, they would never forgive me for having let you go."
He thought it was dangerous, and it was to an extent, and he did not support my going.
That demonstrates the real tug that women of purpose have when they have both families and are activists or professionals in a life outside the home.
And after housing, we got involved in education. Arapahoe Community College was just beginning at that time. And we worked with the college to be sure that there would be access at the college for Hispanics and Blacks. As a result of our work with the Littleton Council for Human Relations, my husband and I decided we would establish a scholarship for minority students here at the college. Following the council, one of my neighbors came to me one evening, and I was a Democrat, and he was a very well-known Republican, and later a judge. He asked me if I would think about developing an agency that would be a community development agency, go beyond the civil rights issues that we were involved with. And as a result of that, we created the Arapahoe Institute for Community Development. And he promised that they would raise money so that I would be a paid executive director. I was fortunate in the Littleton Council for Human Relations and then in the Arapahoe Institute for Community Development. There were a number of people who were on the faculty of Loretto Heights College who joined those groups.
Sister Marie Catherine Pondorf and Loretto Ann Madden had been attending meetings at the Littleton Council for Human Relations, and they observed that she really knew a lot of people.
And at one point, one of those professors was going on sabbatical, and she invited me to take her place and teach at Loretto Heights College. When Loretto Ann came back, they asked me to try to attract more minority students to Loretto Heights College. And we started the University Without Walls.
And she became the director of University Without Walls.
But University Without Walls was called UWW, and its approach was unique because it was an individualized baccalaureate program, and it was aimed at adult students.
She was very open to ideas of what groups could be taught by this program.
We did a lot of special programs in UWW, and we went down to the Navajo Reservation, where one college that had been down there was not being very successful in enrolling Navajo students in their degree program. And we took over from that college. Another special program we did was in Canyon City.
Sister Marie Catherine Pondorf had a student in her class, and he did something that took him to prison.
We went to Canyon City, to the prison, and bargained with the warden to let us enlist and enroll some inmate students in the University Without Walls. Sort of a funny acronym for people who were within the walls. And they graduated, and they were let out of prison. So they came back into the community with a degree in hand, and many of them were very successful.
Ellie was always creating new programs, new ideas.
Ellie founded our courts to educate citizens about the judicial system and the citizens' role in it.
We developed that, Ellie, with her experience in community building, and Russ Carparelli, who was a judge on the Colorado Court of Appeals, and me. But it was Ellie who really understood how to create an organization that would be long-lasting and would be broad-based.
I helped to form the Colorado Women's Leadership Coalition, which really was a coalition of many women's groups that could have been seen as competitive, but it was a collaborative and gave an opportunity for professional women to really play a key role in our community. There were many women's organizations that were formed in the 80s. That was the decade of the woman and the women's movement.
Ellie connects people.
The Women's Forum was really the premier women's organization at the time.
She was instrumental in starting the forum here in Denver. It was to bring women together, to be able to talk about ideas and form relationships where they could share experiences in various different areas of endeavor: the arts, the law, music, medicine, all the kinds of different areas in which women would work. She started the feminist luncheons, and she invited everyone she could think of who might be interested, and that would include women from all walks of life.
Mom's focus, her idea was to have a luncheon where an author, a female author from Colorado, was the featured speaker.
And I started it in a year when I had published a book of mine. The other reason I started it was I realized that there were no opportunities for women of different ages to really connect. We had organizations for younger women, organizations for older women, but we didn't really have an intergenerational organization, not here in Colorado anyway.
My mom has always loved to write, and she's written, I believe, 7 books and probably thousands of articles for the newspaper or for academic journals.
My first book was Weaving the Fabric of a Woman's Life, and I wrote it in my 40s. My second book in that particular series was In Our 50s, The Voices of Men and Women Reinventing Their Lives. My most recent book was called A Time of Our Own, in celebration of women over 60. And it really focuses on the years of our 60s and a little beyond. It may be time to do another one now that I'm in my 80s.
My father, Manny, was very supportive always of Mom's work and her career. Whenever Mom had an opportunity to shine, for example, if she was receiving an award of some type or giving a speech somewhere or in a position where she was visible to a group or to the public, Dad was always in the background, making sure things were going smoothly, schmoozing and talking with people, making sure Mom had what she needed. And he was always a supportive husband. They always enjoyed travel, whether it was with a group or by themselves. And my mom had always wanted to go to China. And so in 2009, in August, my parents went on a tour of China.
I had wanted to go to China for many years.
And on the day that they were supposed to fly back to the United States, my father had a heart attack and he passed away in Beijing.
He died too young. We were a good pair, and our marriage was sound. He was genuine. He was honest. He was fun, loving, sensitive, and caring about people.
Almost 4 years ago, my mom had a medical issue crop up, and she kind of lost her voice for a while, and we thought that it was laryngitis, and that's not an uncommon thing. Another month went by, and Mom still had the laryngitis, and so she went back to her doctor, and they decided to send her to a specialist. They quickly discovered that Mom had stage 4 lung cancer.
When Ellie was diagnosed with cancer, it was a diagnosis that was dire.
It was very shocking. Mom had always been very healthy, had actually never spent a night in a hospital in her entire life.
I just decided that if it wasn't going to get me down, which it didn't, that I could transcend it, that I could move on, that it wasn't going to be an important part of my life. And fortunately, I was able to do that.
She still has cancer, but it's not spreading, and she's maintained her health in a really remarkable way.
When I'm around Ellie, I know that I can do it. I can have determination. I can endure more than I think I can.
What she did for me was to inspire me to use my talents in a public service capacity and not to be shy about doing so.
She took a neighborhood area, a community like Littleton, and where nobody would have necessarily said, gee, that's a place where we'll have a lot of stirring civil rights activity, and she made it civil rights conscious.
And Martin Luther King Jr., of course, said the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Ellie Greenberg has helped move that arc a little bit faster, and I think that's what's particularly special about her.
Her efforts, her energy in civil rights is known by so many people who agree with her, by the way.
Maybe what's most remarkable is that Ellie really has done a lot of different things. And she's not been in a single career field. She's not limited herself in any way.
She created a life for herself of passion and purpose.
If you communicate well, if you respect the people you're communicating with, even when you disagree with them, you can move the ball.
I think we still have a long way to go when it comes to truly understanding each other's worlds and living together in a seriously integrative way.